Hi, folks. I wanted to share something with you that I find kind of interesting and fascinating. You know, in all of our lives, each and every one of us, every now and then, we do something that's very unique and something that we're really quite proud of. And it happens to all of us. It's not something that some do, it's something that all of us do. And something that I am truly proud of in my life is in 1999, in the last century, it's amazing to say that, I created what was called the Thomas Edison Recording Project. And what this project was to record onto wax a cylinder the voices of men and women of note who had changed and added to, enhanced, and of course been part of the history of the 20th century. This project would record presidents, senators, actors, newsmen, astronauts, opera singers, violinists, theatrical people of all types, and a lot of others. And one of the earliest of the recording sessions was recording President Gerald Ford at his compound in Rancho Mirage, California. I had been in conversation with his office, and we went and met with the president on November the 10th, 1999. Now, this is a very interesting thing. First off, the president was most gracious, and we set up our equipment, which took a little while because we had to heat the wax and everything else. And what is interesting is that most of these individuals who were involved in this project, they were always in the public eye. Therefore, they were used to being interviewed, and they weren't excited about being interviewed, and they went into interview mode. It's a normal thing. But when we dealt with all of these individuals and brought in a phonograph, a recording horn, and the like, their interest was piqued. And they let their guard down a little bit and became themselves and had a little fun. And it was a wonderful psychological study to see how these people would change. Now, this recording with President Ford was most unique for several reasons. First off, when he was a boy, he had a phonograph. He was old enough. He was born in 1913. He would pass away in the year of 2006, the end of 2006, I think December 26, 2006 to be exact. And this was on November the 10th, 1999. And he talked about having a phonograph when he was a kid, and how his father, who had a paint shop, got it for him, because he started talking about his boyhood. And he talked about things that you wouldn't expect him to talk about. And it was fascinating. And we spent about an hour or so with the president, just chatting and making 3-cylinder recordings. Now, this photograph, which is quite fascinating, has a special moment captured upon it. You'll see that I am next to the phonograph. And beyond the horn, you'll see President Ford looking at the horn and listening intently. Who is on the record of the phonograph is Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States. And he is conversing with the 38th President of the United States. History gets no better than this. And I can take it a step further, and it's a little fanciful, but why not? Metaphorically, I can say that this is a gathering of 6 presidents, because we have a living president listening. We have Theodore Roosevelt speaking, and on the photo behind me is that famous photograph taken at Eleanor Roosevelt's funeral, in which the 33rd, 34th, 35th, and 36th presidents were all sitting, although at the time we were only up to the 35th president. So we had, in a sense, this gathering of presidents. And as they all sat there and listened to the 26th president speak, history was made. You know, after we did the recording, and Gerald Ford told a number of stories which were quite fascinating and interesting, and we talked about lots of stuff. And he kept looking at the phonograph and saying, "That's quite a unit you got there." And he said, that's an amazing machine. And finally, after we packed up, and I had a copy of his autobiography, and I went to his secretary, and she said, "Leave it here, and we'll get it signed for you and ship it back to you." And he said, "No, no, no, no." And he walked out of his office again, took the book, walked back to his office, sat down at his desk, and wrote an inscription to me in the book. Then he walked back out of his office and handed it to me. Quite a gentleman. And so we recorded his voice on a machine that I bought in 1997. It was called an Edison Fireside, and the Edison Fireside became the machine that I would use because it was a simple machine and it didn't get banged up too much in travel. And it was perfect for what I wanted to do. And that machine has always been with me. It will always be with me till I die. And it is perhaps one of the most unique Edison phonographs in the world. Because if we think about it, the last president to make a cylinder recording was Theodore Roosevelt. Now, I believe Woodrow Wilson made a recording, a message to the Indians, that was done for Edison, but I believe that was on the diamond disc. Now, I might be incorrect on that, so therefore I will not totally say that Theodore Roosevelt was the last, because it possibly could be Woodrow Wilson, but nonetheless, no president ever recorded on cylinder until Gerald Ford did in 1999. And he joined that pantheon of few who recorded on this early equipment. So as I mentioned to you before, things that we do in our lives, every now and then, we do something kind of special. And for me, I can't imagine I'll ever do something quite like this again. And it was something ever so special, ever so fascinating, and truly a great moment in my life. By the way, the machine that I always used, I always keep with me. This is my Fireside that I purchased 21 years ago from my dear friend Charlie Hummel. And Charlie worked with me to make sure it ran really smooth. And we put on a junk horn and we did lots of stuff with it. But just think, in a sense, think of the individuals who faced this machine and spoke into the recording horn. Now, here's a kind of a photograph here I can show you. With the president speaking into that machine. So, I thought I'd share this with you, this story, after, well, it's over 18 years now. I really haven't talked about it, and I guess I should. And there we are, captured in time, just like his voice was captured in time in those wax recordings, which today are in an archive I will have nothing to do with it, but I'm sure people in the future, many years from now, will hear the voice of President Ford played on Edison cylinder. Thank you very much.